Not sure if you caught Dion's live stream yesterday. If not, it was one that you shouldn't have missed. It really talked about Dion's approach to what gave him confidence to retire early. And I thought after seeing that we should actually have a bigger conversation because all three of us have retired early. And I know for a fact, one of our stories is very different than the other two. Matt, you were first today. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing super excited to be here hanging out with my other retired buddies, my fellow retirees. We'll go play some shuffleboard later.
No. Pickleball. Come on.
Yeah,
We're a little more active than that.
Yeah.
Dion, how are you, man? That was a good live stream yesterday.
Thank you. I'm doing marvelous. Actually, one of the reasons why I had the confidence to retire was because of you guys.
We appreciate that. But before we get into this story, I want to read, and I'm not going to have you guys react because I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
I just want to read something from a hater. I gave a taste of it yesterday when I was talking to my doctor because of the first line, which I'll read again. But I just want to read the whole thing because I think when somebody shows you who they are, you should believe them.
Agreed.
So this is from Real Estate Mindset. Real Estate Mindset said, "What happened to this clown's face? Plastic surgery?" I actually shared that line with my doctor who's taking me on this health journey. I said, "Doc, we lost 20 pounds and people think I had plastic surgery. We're on to something." That's the best compliment ever. So yeah, thank you very much for noticing, Real Estate Mindset. I've lost 20 pounds. I do look skinnier. Thank you. Well, it continues and frankly only gets worse from there. And what is it with that little hair curl with the hat? And then some crying emojis. I see Dion is still circle jerking. So Dion, you caught a stray. Sorry about that. This channel gets more and more cringe somehow. Great work, ladies. Okay, great. Let's chat soon. I need some tips on how to make unedited videos that nobody watches. Well, Real Estate Mindset, I want to thank you for noticing that I've lost so much weight and for watching my channel. Guys, I do not want you to react to that. I just want to read his poison, his toxicity, and let people know exactly what kind of person he is. From that, we're going to flip the script ever so elegantly to Dion. What brought up this topic about having the confidence to retire?
So one of the really cool things about actually making content that has a positive impact on people's lives is running into people like Michelle, who I consider a friend. We've interacted now for years. We've been to the local meetup a long time. We've seen each other in Vegas. We've been to her rentals as she was completing her 1031. She is on the cusp, like the edge, of being able to retire early, not just reaching financial freedom, but being able to pull the trigger and say, okay, I now own my life. I have the time freedom that comes with not having to sell my life 1 hour at a time. And it just casually, she said, hey, where did you get the confidence to retire? I mean, I'm not sure exactly how she worded the question, but that was the gist of it. And I thought, well, that's a question I think a lot of people probably struggle with. And then there's a couple of ways of looking at it. The first one is what are the fears that people have with retiring or retiring early? And so the idea is to go through those really quick would be, what if you fail? Like what if you fail at retiring? Well, your worst case scenario is you go back to work like everybody else is now. But you add a couple of elements like a gap in employment. You're older, ageism could be a thing. Like, so you have to figure out, okay, how would I go around those things? And then it's, well, the confidence to retire comes from knowing your asset class, planning for things like inflation or a recession. And that the thing I said earlier was actually true. If you invest in stocks, you should have a paid professional do at least a fee-only advisor look at your portfolio and point out things you might not be seeing. Well, that doesn't exist so much in real estate. So here's the plan. Make a YouTube channel, get on as many podcasts as you can, grow a YouTube channel to 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers and get on the radar of people who have reached financial freedom and retired. Have them make a video with you where they look at your entire portfolio and point out the things that you did right or wrong. And that was actually my path. I did that exact thing step by step to make a video with the two of you. And you pointed out some optimization things, but neither one of you went and said, oh, this is going to blow up in 2 years, or you're missing this. It was, you should do a 50% LTV cash out refinance on this property and you'd be able to make more.
Yeah,
money.
because you were working, that would have given you the lowest rates on that opportunity. Yeah.
Right. It was an adjustment. It wasn't a, here's 10 red flags you've missed. So that was my peer review. So how do you get a peer review? And make a plan for those things that are going to happen in the future. Because I talk often, my job getting people from the parking lot to the stadium to get out on the field is to go, look, it's possible to retire early. And I go, here's why you should. So there's a lot of motivational mindset stuff that Matt hates. And this one was, well, how do you get around the fear? Because that's really what's stopping. And around healthcare and around those other things. And so you both reached financial freedom, made work optional, walked away from good careers. How's that working out for you? Like,
pretty good.
Yeah, it hasn't sucked. That's for sure. It hasn't sucked. But Matt, what about you? What gave you the confidence? Again, your story is a little different, right? You were planning an exit, then you had a family health event that really, forced you to go, okay, let's get through this.
Yeah.
Right. Health insurance and all of that. Yep. But ultimately you got there as well. What was it for you?
Memes from Dion.
The Pink Panther strikes again.
I mean, I think so. It was always there. Like the goal was originally to retire at 40, but I realized at 40, I was like, I really still love what I do. And we just had started having kids. And I was like, I don't need to now. So, but it's definitely, it was, kind of on my radar.
Quick question there. When you're at 40, did you and Ashley, was it always 4 kids or was it like?
Yes.
Okay. So you always knew you were going to have a relatively big family.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We knew we were going to, well, she's one of 6 and I'm one of 5. Or I have, so it was it's one of 6. I have 5 sisters. So so it was always like, we're going to at least do our part and have 4.
Okay. So that was,
all right. Yeah.
That's not cheap.
Nope. Nope. That's why you have portfolio creep.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the idea always was, you and I were in super high demand jobs, not only demanding of time, and Dion was in the same type of job. We all had jobs that were high demanding in time, high demanding in if you're awake, and even when you're trying to sleep, your brain's on. Yeah, because you're trying to solve the problem. Yeah, it's a lot. And the funny thing is one of the things Dion had said was, you'll never realize how much stress you were under until you're not under any stress.
True.
Thanks a lot, Dion. And so then I retired and I was just like, it took, I think you guys both said 6 months or something like that to kind of really decompress. So my morning then was wake up super early and spend time with my kids and be thinking about my day. And then in my office at 7:30 or 8 and, working all the way till lunch and then maybe popping out to just grab a quick bite to eat and then back in the office again. And then going till 6 o'clock and then eating dinner with my kids and then an hour and a half with my wife and then, back to working and then to bed. And, my day this morning consisted of waking up, hanging out with my kids, dropping my daughter off at daycare. And then I sat on the couch for an hour and a half, watched financial news, and I watched some baseball card auctions.
Oh, there you go.
It's a fair contrast.
Yeah,
so that's the real different life. That's what people have waiting for them. I think that Dion does a great job. He does, I think, the best job of all of us of making sure that people are ready, because it's 2 types of ready. It's financially, and it's also kind of mentally / emotionally ready. And I don't think that you're ever ready for all of it. I just don't. I think the one that you can control is the money side.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I see different in our 3 stories.
Yeah.
Right. Both of you essentially kind of called your shot and gave notice, right? Mine happened on a bad day where, you go into the office, you're supposed to get a new patch, a new territory, all of this. And, you basically get all this crap and, it was horrible. I had no intention of having that be my last day of work ever. And so I start driving home. Olivia thought I was kidding, first off. Did.
Probably
It's
still
like, why are
does.
you home? I thought you were
Yeah.
kidding. No, honey, I don't. No, I'm not kidding. But I was not confident. But
Yeah.
it never was the money. I had always said that I was going to work till I was 50. My whole ego, my whole personality, who I was as a man for a lot of part was wrapped up in my job. I enjoyed flying all over the world, being that guy to do that thing. And I was at a loss for a long time. I even got to the point where I was depressed. I've never been depressed in my entire life except for that 6-week window. It's a horrible feeling because I didn't feel like I had a purpose anymore. And I remember going on what you may call a job interview. I didn't really consider it was, conversations with folks, but I was getting job offers from multiple different software companies to come do what I do. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table saying that if I can't get out of this depression, I'm going to get a job. And then the very next thought I had was, you freaking failure. What the hell are you doing, you moron? Right? People would kill for the opportunity that you have.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Sitting at the kitchen table getting a job to not get depressed. Good call, Mike.
Yeah. Go Zuber. I remember this like it was yesterday. And thankfully, I was inspired to write, or even it was just draft one rental at a time, the book. I told myself that I had never read a book, and I've read hundreds, maybe even upwards of 500 real estate books. I had never read a book that was like a timeline from reading Rich Dad Poor Dad to financial freedom, right? That book doesn't exist, or at least it didn't exist until One Rental at a Time. One Rental at a Time is not a how-to book. There's some of that at the end where I snuck in just to, feel like it's there, but it's 65% timeline. The ups and downs of the GFC, the first tenant screwing us. I mean, it's all the gory details are in there. And writing that book gave me just enough, I don't know, impact. It just gave me enough. Gave me enough purpose. That's the word. It gave me enough purpose where I could go around my day and be okay. Right. Cause I would write for maybe 90 minutes a day and then I would edit for, but still I had, I don't know, 12 hours, 14 hours to do whatever the hell else I wanted. But it felt like I was contributing positively to society. And then that feeling of that book led to the YouTube channel, led to the courses, led to live events, led to our relationship, led to the millionaires. And I have never looked back. But yeah, if you talk about that day, I had zero confidence. I had no purpose, to Dion's point. It was like there's a money angle, and then there's like, what the hell are you going to do? Because now you got this extra 10 hours a day. And oh, by the way, none of your friends are around, right? They're all working. So it was a bad 90 days, 4 months. It was pretty rough. Dion?
So there's five things that gave me the confidence to retire early. The first one is that peer review, right? Make sure you have somebody look at your stuff, fresh eyes, that doesn't have a vested interest in the investments because they'll want to manipulate to whatever benefits them. The second is the math. You talked about that, right? There's two differences, the emotional and the math. And it's not just what's your freedom number, what's your multiplier. It's what is enough. Right? It's really hard to stop moving the goalpost. The third one, and this is the one I don't think I've heard either one of you talk about. So I'm going to ask this as a question, even though this is your video on your channel. I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
I did what I call a litmus test. This third step in the confidence to retire is in 2018. I started living on rental income. And from 2018 to 2022, I didn't touch one penny from my W-2 job. Like that went into the account, never touched it, never lived on it, never traveled on it, never used it for any expense. All it did was add to the stack for the next investment so that if I didn't have it, I would just not have the next investment.
Yeah.
4-year period of proof of concept. I didn't need the job. Now, Zuber, you went in at 6 months and 15 days and just said, okay, I'm out of here today.
Yep. Yeah. It's interesting. We did do a litmus test for Olivia because she's been out for well over a decade now. So we did the same thing with her salary. We put it away for a year, never touched it. And that was what gave us the confidence for her to retire. And that, gosh, when was that? That probably was 2014, maybe 13. So quite a while ago. But yeah, the same thing. There's a lot in that, but yeah, we had no planning. That's, I think, what caught Olivia by surprise is, I went to work hoping to get a bump and a raise and ended up, not working there anymore. So yeah, no litmus test for me.
That's awesome. That's so good. Yeah. I mean, for us, it was, I think around 35, 36 years old, we could walk away. And I just said, yeah, I said, that's true. And I said, but we'd be living on less,
Right.
and, we, at 35 and 36, we were talking about a I was 35, 36. My wife was 28. So at that point we were talking about a family and, now's going to be the right time to start a family. And so it was, let's kind of get that underway and kind of see what those costs look like. Right. Cause I have no idea what, I can read a bunch of books on, here's how much 4 kids cost.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different thing when you're living it and really understanding it because, no one can do it as inexpensively as Dion did, and we're also not going to live in frothy land. So it was just an interesting, but we looked at it and was like, yeah, we could kind of do it now, but it's almost like retiring from baseball when you're 32. Like you've got some of your best years still left. And most importantly, you have your biggest earning years left.
Right. Yeah.
So I made the most money that I ever made in my W-2 from 40 to 45.
Sure. Yeah. Certainly in our careers. Yeah. That's how it happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you kind of cap out in like you're in your 50s. But at that point, you're executive level and you're massive numbers and equity and everything else, no matter where you go.
Yeah, so, assuming you can still hack it. Assuming you can still hack it.
Right. Assuming you had what it took to get there, usually you can hack it, but it's interesting to see. But yeah, for us, it was like 35, 36 years old. And then I retired at 46 years old or 47, 46 years old. Yeah, 46, I retired. So I looked at it and it was like, it was still 10 years, but it was my choice.
Right.
And that removes a lot of the stress of the situation.
Yeah. So Dion, those are the first 3. There's 2 more.
Yeah. So the fourth one, I think we all nailed, and it's planning for inflation and recessions, right? Even stagflation. In inflation, our net worth goes up exponentially because we're the asset owners. And in a recession, I know Matt owns some nicer rentals and Zuber, you own some nicer rentals, but we all own some Class C rentals where the demand goes up in a recession. Class B and A renters can downsize. People who have family issues can downsize to Class C. So we have more demand in each. So I think we all nailed that. The fifth one is where Matt and I got it right. And Zuber, you missed this.
Usually how it goes. You two are right and I'm wrong. I
tell you this because I care about you. And I care about the people who are watching who can make the same mistake. Mm-hmm. I quote Joe Kuhn often. He retired on stocks. And one of the things that he talked about is to retire to something, not from something. And my twist on it is build a life where work is in the way. So the couple of years before I retired, I started taking 2 months in Florida, 2 months in a month in Colombia, a month in Thailand, and scuba everywhere. And it was like, I could be doing this all the time. I could be chasing the good weather. I could be finding the good water. I can be meeting people from all of these different countries. But I got this job thing. And then Matt, he's got these, 19 kids under 5 in one house that he's got right now. And he's thinking, I get this little bit of time in the morning. I get the like a microsecond for lunch. And then I get a little bit of time at night. And I'm missing all of this childhood growth that I could be experiencing. My job is in the way of the life I want to have. And Zuber, you didn't have, like, the book came later. The YouTube and one rental at a time community came later. If you had that year before retirement where you started going, okay, I've reached financial freedom. How can I share this with other people? And you said, well, write a book. I want to write a book, but I got this schedule and this alarm clock and I'm on a plane again for 6 hours. And I'm going to, build a life where work is in the way.
I agree 1000%. And I sit here now thinking back to those days, and I'm really lucky that I had that moment of inspiration to write that book, which, if folks know me, right? In my family, my father and sister are naturally gifted writers.
Hmm.
If you've ever gotten an email from me, there's a very good chance that there are misspellings and wrong words.
You're
Because
you're what I aspire to be.
yeah, because letters on a page simply move, right? It's
Mm.
really weird because numbers don't, but letters do. I can't explain it.
Mhm.
So writing for me is ridiculously hard. It actually takes it's like a gym exercise for me. Like writing anything longer than a tweet, right? And even those fucking things have misspellings.
You couldn't
just
tell
suck
by
at it.
you couldn't tell by your replies in the comments, Sue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Thanks. Good. Yeah. I don't want to be caught embarrassed, but I say that because I would have bet probably $1 million I would never write a book because I just never saw it as an option. It was like, that's not what Zuber does. Zuber's a talker, right? Zuber could go do 4 hours or 8 hours or whatever. That's him, right? Go get on stage and talk. Writing a book was like never even in the realm of possibilities. But if I don't have that inspiration to simply what I called outline my journey, there's a very good chance I'm working right now,
Mm.
like in a job, and the three of us aren't here on this call.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's wild for me to think about that. Something I never thought I would do. I really don't have the skills to do. And that just opened doors, right? I'm an employee, but that like writing one rental at a time is like, oh my God, now you're an entrepreneur. What the hell do you do now? So it's wild to think about.
It's amazing though that because you read a ton.
I do read a lot. Yeah.
But you read a lot of books though, right?
Yeah. Paper.
Like
Yeah.
I read nonstop, but I can tell you in my life, I think I've read 3 books.
Yeah.
And yours is one of them.
Yeah.
Dude,
One of
I read
3
this week.
Yeah, exactly. I don't read books, but I will
Yeah.
I'll read the news, I'll read economic theory, I'll read all of that sort of stuff, but I don't read a book. I don't find that enjoyable, and I quickly often devolve to I could be doing something else that's far more productive. And so I suck at reading books, and my emails are horrible as well. So I appreciate you allowing me in that club, Zoo, because it's rough, and I have big hands on a small device. So it's, people were like, your spelling sucks, and I was like, you're poor.
Yeah.
That's what works the best with the haters online. And so but the thing is, for you at least read a ton of books.
I do.
Like for me, the bar is really low. I will write more books than I will read in my lifetime. I will write more than I'll read. And I don't want to write a book, but I think you felt like you needed to, like there was something inside
like
you.
Calling. It was like out of nowhere. It's like, this has to happen.
Same. I don't want to, it's not my thing. A guy who can barely read, writing a book, a guy who can't writing a book, like, and it's not like you did like a lot of people do. At the time you were basically a nobody, and you wrote a book. And so it's kind of like, well, where do you think that's going to go? Like the corner of my dining room table to keep it from wobbling back and forth.
Well, that's funny you bring that up.
Success.
I had no, you guys know this, but for the audience, my whole intention of that was I wrote one rental at a time for me.
For you.
For me. It was only ever meant for me.
Yeah.
So there's an aspect to writing that most people don't consider. And I've written a ton. I've never written a book. I just write things and then it basically gets thrown away. So where imagination meets memory, right? So what you think could happen based on your experiences, we'll start to think of narratives. For me, that ends up being, hey, I've got 1,000 freaking videos I'd like to make on finances and retiring. I'm gonna have to make 1 or 2 a week, and it's gonna take forever to get through these 1,000 I want to make. But Matt, if you had the idea of how to invest, how to optimize your portfolio, all the things you want to put into writing, but they change over time. That's going to become so clouded and convoluted in your head that once you write it down, once Zuber took the 15-year journey and put it down, your brain was free to think of other things because it's now concrete. That is what happened. You don't have to think of all the different aspects anymore. And so writing it down actually can, I want to say almost like keep your sanity, protect your sanity, let you move on to the next thing.
It lets you move on. Yeah. It was never a question. Once I kind of said, I got to write this book, I'm not going to just get a job on Monday. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like a requirement. That thing was getting done. And yeah, the other wild thing I don't think I've ever admitted, it was enjoyable. I had fun. I was like I was revisiting memories and smiling and like, oh my God, I remember that happened. Oh, I remember when that happened. It was intoxicating. It was crazy. So I look forward to you guys writing a book. When are those coming out?
Well, I have a directive.
Mine. Yeah.
You've made an offer to do a joint one rental at a time book. So I will be doing that. This last, like, I want to say 6 months. I don't usually talk about this in videos. I've been dealing with some health concerns with my brother and resolving a bunch of stuff, and that's going well. And now I'm headed to Thailand, I believe within a couple of weeks.
Nice.
And I can only scuba dive because of, nitrogen intake. I'm only going to scuba dive so many hours a day. I believe that's where the time freedom is going to come in the next few months
I look forward to this.
Very cool.
I look forward to brainstorming sessions and getting after a Dion and Zuber book. That's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. Then we got to get on Lumberjack next. So we're going to have to do the Pink Panther again or another version.
We're going to have somebody that knows how to write words, Zub.
Well, you know what the beauty is? Today, you could actually record videos and hand that off to someone else and then you just got to tweak. But
I think that's probably what's going to have to happen, because I read through it and I was like, I don't know what this asshole is saying. And then I was like, oh, I wrote this.
I'm the asshole. Well, let's close on this again. It's funny when we came into this conversation, and I'm glad Dion and Matt both hit it. I think there are two things that you need to figure out and be confident in retiring. All three of us got one right. Two of us got the other one right, and I did not. And that is, what are you going to do with your time? How are you going to feel like you still, because again, retired at 45. I was a type A goal giving, and suddenly I didn't have anything and I was lost. And that is not a good feeling. I wish that on no one. It was that bad. But I think Dion and Matt both tell you how to do it right and should be modeled. Matt, where can people find you?
You can find me Lumberjack Landlord 9 p.m. on Thursday nights. And because I enjoy it so much now, I actually still leave my LinkedIn alerts on.
I had to turn those off eventually. Yeah.
I literally see somebody and they're just posting it like, really excited to get out there in the trade show and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh dear God, that was the worst life ever. Having to like and repost other people's crap and like corporate marketing calling you going, hey, we don't see that you like this post yet. And I was like, it's because I thought it sucked, And so, but now seeing those and I'm just like, I don't have to listen. I don't have to do it. I don't have to read it. I don't have to listen about it. And like keeping industry trends and all. Oh my goodness. Run, Luke, run. I've had a blast.
Peace of mind.
I appreciate all that you guys have done for me in my retirement. And it's just getting together and, 3 retirees hanging out once a week and talking about real estate. It's just, and not much changed from that perspective from when I retired to before. But yeah, it's hugely liberating. And it's really quite awesome. I must admit, it's quite awesome. It's quite awesome to own your day.
Very cool. Dion?
You can find me right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom. This year in October, you can find me in Las Vegas at BPCon, presenting there. But on YouTube, every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, I do a live stream that lasts as long as the questions do. And just like everybody watching this video, I'm here on YouTube trying to figure out what's in the box on Matt's couch.
Yeah.
I'll show you after the video breaks.
There you go. Well, I want to thank Real Estate Mindset for noticing that I've lost so much weight. Appreciate it. Take care.
See ya.